Hi everyone, my name is Robbie and I'm a vintage Garfield plush collector from Melbourne in Australia. I just wanted to make a video today to outline the specific types of vintage Garfield plush toys which I collect, and to also go into a little bit of detail about some of the factors which are important to me when adding new toys to my collection. So from my observation, many Garfield collectors which I know of tend to collect virtually anything and everything which has Garfield's face printed on it. So that could be anything from things like mugs to clocks to bedding sets to toothbrushes to placemats to figurines, etc. And I've seen some absolutely incredible setups and displays from fellow collectors online, various Facebook groups, etc., which would definitely put to shame anything which I've got. Sometimes you even see people who have their entire homes dedicated to Garfield and decorated with Garfield paraphernalia, which is absolutely amazing to look at. However, for me, at this point of my life, I really don't have the time, the energy, the space, or the money to devote to being an all-round Garfield collector. So very early on, I decided to focus my efforts on collecting the one type of Garfield item which I was most passionate about and which I thought was the coolest, which is obviously, as you can see, the vintage plush toys. Now, when I say I collect the vintage Garfield plush toys, I don't actually collect every single item which was ever made. I guess it's fair to say that I'm a bit of a niche collector, and I'll go into a little bit of detail about that shortly. I'm also very particular about the condition of the toys which I add to my collection, which I've touched on a little bit in a previous video, and I'll explain that a bit further as well in a moment. So firstly, I only actually collect Garfield himself. I don't collect Odie plush toys or Nermal or Arlene or any of the other characters. My passion is really solely for Garfield himself. I just find him absolutely hilarious, always makes me laugh and a lot of fun to collect for. And I guess I just don't have the same level of enthusiasm for the other characters. It's really just as simple as that. Secondly, I only collect the vintage plush toys which are medium to large in size. I don't collect any of the smaller varieties currently. Now, when I say medium-sized Garfields, I don't collect any Garfields which are smaller than about 10 inches or 25 centimeters. So I'll just show you a couple of examples of some of the Garfields at the smaller end of the size spectrum in my collection. So these guys here are exactly the size I just mentioned, about 10 inches or 25 centimeters. They've actually both got their original tags as well, which is really cool, as you can see. And I believe this particular style of plush was one of the very first ever made in the late 1970s. So I'm very happy to have these guys as part of my collection. However, most of my collection are a little bit larger than those two and are around this size here. So this boxing Garfield is very common. I'm sure most people have seen it, and it's about 27 or 28 centimeters in height. And I would consider this to be a true medium-sized Garfield. So the majority of my collection are about this size, but obviously I've also got some larger ones as well, as you can see. Now, although I don't collect the small ones, I do have a couple on hand just to show you. So this one here is actually a bit smaller than 25 centimeters or 10 inches, Love Struck, and it's got a little suction cup on the back. And this one here is a very common one, I Love Lasagna. So I'm sure most collectors would be very happy to add those to their collections as well. I just personally find the medium and larger size ones to be a bit more impressive to look at and look a bit cool on my shelves. So that's why I decided to stick to those sizes. Thirdly, I only collect the vintage plush toys which were manufactured by the company Dakin. And I believe this was approximately from the period 1978 until 1993. Now, sometime after that point, not long I believe, the manufacturing license was actually transferred to Paws Incorporated. And when this happened, the overall design and style of the toys began to change a little bit, and in my opinion it was for the worst. So in my opinion, the toys that were manufactured by Paws didn't quite encapsulate the same level of charm and character as the toys from the Dakin era. So I didn't feel the same, well, I don't feel the same amount of passion for those, and currently don't collect anything post the Dakin era. Lastly, the topic of condition is a very important one for me. But I think it's first important to outline that it's very important to consider that most of the toys from the Dakin era are now 30 to 40 years old, and some even a little bit older. So it's just not realistic to expect that each and every one of them is going to be in immaculate condition and have its original tag, etc. However, as a serious collector, I still do expect that the toys I add to my collection to be in what I deem an overall good condition. So a couple of my real bugbears when it comes to condition are discoloration and also damage to the eyes and nose of the toys. So in regards to discoloration, I'm sure you've all seen some Garfields that look a bit too yellowy, and this usually happens when they are left in direct sunlight, usually whether that be in somebody's car or inside next to a window. And if they're left in such spaces for a very long time, they can even sometimes get a bit of a greyish tinge to them, and the eyes can start yellowing as well. I actually don't mind a little bit of this, but if they are severely disfigured, I really don't wish to add them to my collection. As I just mentioned before, even more common than discoloration are finding Garfield toys that have chips, marks and scratches on the eyes and the nose area. Now, I don't mind the odd scratch or two, but when I see Garfields that have really been battered and been through the mill, I really don't wish to add toys like that to my collection either. I'm a very proud collector, and I want my collection to be presentable and to stand the test of time. So if toys are in really poor condition, I'd rather not have them at all than to put them on my shelf in bad condition. Furthermore, it's really important to me that the toys I add to my collection are complete in terms of the original accessories which are meant to come with them. Now, all the time when I look online, whether it be in people's collections or sites where Garfields are for sale, often I see Garfields with various accessories missing. And I'll just give you a couple of classic examples. So this one here is a very common Garfield plush, Born to Party. And I've lost count the number of times I've seen this one with the lampshade missing. Now, I think sometimes people genuinely are not aware that it's meant to come with the lampshade, if it hasn't got it, obviously. And maybe some collectors just don't care as much as me. But I believe this is by far the coolest part of the toy, and if it was missing, I just really wouldn't want to add this to my collection. It would just really frustrate me. Another example are sporting Garfields like this one here. You often find them with the balls missing, and again, if that was the case, I wouldn't want to add them to my collection. Now, there's actually a fairly quick and easy way to find out if the Garfield toy that you're looking to purchase is actually the complete article or not, and that is to do a Google image search. So in the case of this toy, for example, you could type in vintage Garfield soccer plush or something like that, and very likely you're going to get a whole lot of images which look something like this or similar, and obviously some other Garfields as well. But hopefully you should be able to very quickly see, or it might take a little bit of searching, that if the Garfield you're looking to purchase has all the accessories you can see in the Google images that come up in the results. So that's something which I do all the time if I have any doubt at all if the plush toys which I'm looking to purchase are complete or not. So those are a number of factors which are important to me as a vintage Garfield plush collector, and I've also touched on the specific varieties that I collect. But I'd really love to hear from you other Garfield collectors. What particularly do you collect, and what is important to you when adding new items to your collection? What factors? Finally, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video today. If you enjoyed it, please click like, and depending on where you're watching it, if you could either follow or subscribe, that would really help me out. And I do plan to make a number of other videos shortly, so keep an eye out for those. Hopefully you'll find them interesting. Thanks again. Have a great day.